Hey folks, a bit of a vlog style video today. Last week I traveled to Las Vegas with a bunch of other amazing Forza creators and got to drive a Cadillac CT4V Blackwing and a C8 Corvette around a real racetrack. All courtesy of Xbox and Turn 10 in order to celebrate the launch of Forza Motorsport. I had an incredible time. It was wonderful meeting everyone and getting to ask the devs more questions about the game, and of course, getting to experience these amazing cars in a track setting. And I even won an award. So I just want to share a bit of my experience today in this video, show you all some of my driving and talk about how it felt and how it compares to motorsport. And if you're watching this and wishing you could experience some of this yourself, well, stay tuned because I have spent the last couple of days working on a little something special for everyone that should give you all a fun slice of my Vegas experience. So after heading to a meet and greet the night I landed, we all woke up early, grabbed a big breakfast, and headed out of town for a bus ride to Spring Mountain Motorsports Resort, located about an hour outside of Vegas. Spring Mountain is not super well known in the wider car world, but certainly might be soon. This place is kind of an amazing little hidden gem that actually houses the largest racetrack in the US and second largest in the world, only beaten out by, of course, the Nürburgring. But the ring might not hold that #1 spot for much longer, because we were told that expansion plans are already underway at Spring Mountain to build even more track. And heck, in the middle of the desert, they've got a lot of room to do that. Spring Mountain also has a fleet of about 200 C8 Corvettes, 30 Blackwings, and a handful of Radicals as well. And there are over 35 different track layouts to drive these cars on. The reason for all of this is because Spring Mountain hosts a handful of different schools. There's a Radical Racing program, the Cadillac V Performance Academy, and for Corvette owners, the Ron Fellows Performance Driving School. Yeah, that Ron Fellows. During our one day at the resort, we all got to experience just a small teaser of the Cadillac and Corvette courses, so let's dive into the driving, starting with the Corvettes. They gave us a shocking amount of freedom with these cars. I was expecting to have an instructor in the vehicle with me at all times and figured we'd be going slow for a while and keeping all the assists on, but we just hopped into these 500 horsepower track cars by ourselves and were basically told that we could drive as fast as we were comfortable with while chasing an instructor in the car ahead. If we drove faster, the instructor would just pick up the pace themselves and maintain that bit of distance. And they were able to radio us to give some instruction. Now, I've actually driven a C8 a few times before on public roads, and that just gave me such a fun perspective here to feel how this car really drives once you're able to open it up on a track. It's been almost 5 years now since I've raced on a track myself, so there was definitely some rust to shake off. And Nick, who was right behind me to start, was giving me a great chase. He was driving super well and definitely pushing me to keep the pace up on those first few laps. Now, I'm actually just gonna let the car do the talking here and let you guys see, uncut, my second hot lap ever in the Corvette at Spring Mountain.
And number 2 is the braking marker. Got right side for me, Robert. Eyes to the left. At our blue cone, just a light drag of the brake. Keep it nice and tight here to the inside. Patient, eyes over your mirror, look for the orange cone. Good, now come on out. Nice job, braking into number 2. Good, look into the corner. Our braking marker. Third gear for me, Robert. double brake down here. So braking, and staying on the brake light, and then harder on the brake, third gear. Alright, we're going to take a little break here and rotate the cars around. So everyone into the rotation zone again. Everyone into the rotation zone.
And there you have it. Far from a fast lap, but certainly a fun lap. In hindsight, I think I really should have just left the car in auto for those first couple of runs, so I didn't have to focus on gearing and could just worry about learning the car and track. There was one spot specifically where I downshifted kind of right on the corner entry, which was not smart, and you can see I lost my turn-in grip there and had to correct a bit, which pushed me wide out of the corner. And then shortly after, I definitely asked too much of the car here, didn't get hard enough on the brakes to help grip up those front tires for this turn-in, and kicked it out for a bit of a slide. But hey, I will never complain about a little chance to drift a C8 and give Nick a good show. And then I got right back on it for the rest of this super fun roller coaster section to wrap up the rest of the lap. After that, we swapped drivers to let Nick get to the front of the pack behind the instructor and put me around back where I got to have some fun chasing another creator. This was where it really started to click a bit for me. You know, those first few minutes trying to learn the car, learn the track, listen to the instructor, and also just go as fast as I could to make the most of a limited experience, it was a lot to manage. But with a few laps under my belt, the pieces started to click together, and I was just having a blast with the car. This was a super fun layout with some good elevation, tight flowy sections, and some areas to open it up and do some more high-speed cornering. I think for most people, this was probably the highlight of the day, and I expected that it would be mine as well, but to my surprise, those Blackwings were a ton of fun. Our second activity was driving these twin-turbo V6 Cadillacs around a super tight and technical autocross layout. And honestly, these things are a blast. I did not expect to have so much fun with them and for them to handle so well. The steering on this car was shockingly quick, which was really well suited to the autocross. Now, for this event, again, no instructor with us in the car. We watched him do one lap around the roughly 30-second course, then hopped in and we were set loose with radio assistance for a total of only 2 sprints with the car. So we had to make them count, as we did find out that these were being timed. And if you hit a cone, you got a 2-second penalty, practically a death sentence for a 30-second sprint. This here is my first run, and I wanted to take it a bit easier to learn the car and try out some different levels of braking and turn-in to see what kind of input it needed. But again, with only 2 timed laps, I really wanted to make sure that this one was at least sorta fast so that if I hit a cone on lap 2, I still had a safe time to fall back on. Again, the car was a dream. I have some experience with autocross in my own cars, and they warned us that the Blackwing understeers a bit, but with a proper touch of trail braking and just getting that weight shifted into the corner, it honestly drove so well, especially for how big it feels. Now, again, like with the Corvette, I'm just gonna let this second run play out here, so you can watch the full experience. I know the footage is super overexposed, I did what I could in the edit, but at a certain point the information is just kinda lost. Hopefully you still get a decent sense of the lap here though.
Almost! Nice job!
And there you go. After kicking the tail out again here in the Caddy, I pulled into the stop box with a time of 34.47. If I wasn't so worried about hitting a cone, I would have maybe stayed on the gas a little more to run the slide out, but I knew this lap felt fast, and the last thing I wanted to do was invalidate it on the last corner. And somehow, with this time, I managed to place at the top of the Forza creators leaderboard and second overall for the day, winning me a certificate and a medal. I just barely beat out Ray by 0.03 of a second, and I do want to give him a special shout out here. He actually did manage a 34.44 on his second run, beating me by 0.03, but unfortunately ran wide on one of the back hairpins and smacked a cone, bringing his final time up by 2 seconds. With that said though, his first lap was that 34.5, so you gotta admire his consistency. Everyone drove really well. It was a lot to ask of a driver in such a small amount of time, and now I'm gonna pass the challenge on to you guys. I have spent the last few days in Horizon 5's event lab faithfully recreating this same autocross layout. We've got the CT4 Blackwing in-game, and livery master Troot has also managed to whip up a couple of designs for the car that perfectly match the ones we drove that day. So if you want to try and beat my time, download one of Troot's liveries for the Cadillac CT4V Blackwing, load up my event lab on Event Lab Island, and see what you can do. This track uses custom rules, so if you hit a cone, it will throw up a warning and invalidate your lap, meaning that you won't be able to see your time anymore, just the number of cones you hit. I have had a blast building this out and reliving it, running it over and over in Horizon, trying to squeeze more time out of the car. I think this should be a really fun, pretty hard and unique challenge for you guys. Autocross is super tight and technical with very precise input needed to maximize lap time, and that's a bit different from the standard Horizon experience. So give it a shot with the stock, unmodified Blackwing, and let me know if you manage to beat my real-world time of 34.47. Or, if you're fast enough, you can try to beat the instructor's time of 32.1. I'm still a ways off from that one myself. Now, a quick final note here before we move on. The CT4 is a festival playlist car that's pretty hard to find if you didn't catch it the first time around. So if you don't have it, don't worry. I've made an alternate version of the map with no car restrictions, and I even tuned up a Cadillac ATS, which is available in the auto show, to at least mostly match the specs and lap time of the CT4. So I would strongly recommend giving that car and tune a shot if you want a similar experience, but don't have the right Blackwing. And with that, of course, this whole trip was all about motorsport. So we've got to wrap up this video by talking about motorsport. I was able to play the full game while I was there in Vegas, and I had some great conversations with some of the members of the dev team. You will all have to wait until October 4th when the embargo lifts to hear all my thoughts on the full game, but feel free to check out this lengthy thoughts video about the preview in the meantime. And I do want to take this time to talk about something that I think this event in Vegas really highlighted for me. I think it goes without saying that Forza Motorsport is not the most hardcore full racing sim out there. But what I think these games do so well is match the feeling of what it's like to race real cars. The new Motorsport manages to feel more fun and more realistic than it ever has, while still kind of making you feel like a hero and amplifying the experience. You know, you'll hear this from just about anyone who drives both in real life and in sims. Hardcore sims like iRacing are harder to drive than real life, because no matter how nice your rig is, nothing gives you more realistic or accurate feedback than the real thing. So I know some people like to pick hairs about what label to give games like GT7 or Motorsport. I myself often call them sim lights or console sims. But even though other sims have more true-to-life physics, and I love that for what it is, games like Motorsport still give me more of the emotion and excitement that you get racing a real car. That somewhat more easy and amplified experience in Motorsport kind of closes the gap between the game and the real world. Being at this event in Vegas and racing real cars on a real track, and then immediately jumping into Motorsport on a sim rig to do the same thing, really just drove that home for me. So big thank you to Xbox and Turn 10 for having me and everyone else out for this event. It was an amazing opportunity to hang out with a lot of really cool people and do some pretty rad things together. Keep an eye out for a whole lot more Forza Motorsport content coming to the channel soon, and thank you all for watching.